What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, to all of my returning subscribers. But if this is your first time joining me on today, it is here that we use information from celestial bodies to help us gain a better understanding of our favorite celebrities, world events, but most importantly, our damn selves. So with that being said, thumbs up this video, subscribe to become a part of the family, okay? So today I want to do a natal chart reading on a person who is involved in a really controversial event, right? Public event that has taken place, or a situation that has made headlines recently, and everybody has been talking about this. A trending topic, if you will, okay? So unless you've been hiding under a rock, there was a woman in Chicago, Illinois, by the name of Carlicia, I believe, Hood, 35 years old, who basically went to a local eatery, placed an order, and while she was in line waiting for her order to be prepared, she got into an argument with Jeremy Brown, 32, and as they were arguing, okay, Jeremy pretty much escalated the argument into a physical confrontation, and to be more specific, he beat this lady up, okay? And this is the part that was caught on video. It was a viral clip that depicted Jeremy Brown. Say another word. I'm be, oh my grandma. Say another word. I'm gonna beat you up. And he just literally just unprovoked commenced to punching this lady like he was really mixing her. Like she was a grown man and he was fighting for his life. But unbeknownst to him, okay, Carlicia has a son, 14 years old, who was standing by with the blicky, the mouse tool, okay? And he proceeded to blast this nigga back to kingdom come. So needless to say, he's no longer with us. And so the whole controversy behind the situation was there were multiple stories that were put out in regards to like how the actual unaliving transpired. Some people were saying that the mother texted her son and instructed her son specifically to unalive this man. But then it also came out that Jeremy was struck multiple times. So after he was struck once, he ran outside of the shop and the son actually followed him and pow-powed him again, which ultimately resulted in his death. So you had this kind of discourse where there was like the legality of things versus the morality of things, right? I think most people, unless you just are a certain subset of the population, let's be real, like certain men and male identified women who just are automatically gonna jump to find fault in what a woman is doing, regardless of how horrible she's been treated, you know, despite seeing her being battered, abused, unprovoked. Of course, you had people who just felt like it was the mother's fault, 100%, shaming her, downing her, saying she's a horrible parent. But most people, were very sympathetic towards her. And there was this really big rally around getting Carlicia and her son released from jail, because that was another thing too. They were initially booked on first degree M charges, I think, right? First degree, whatever. Y'all feel free to clear it up in the comment section. But I said all this to say, this has been public fodder. But as of recently, the mother, the son have been cleared on all charges and pretty much vindicated in the eyes of the law. And once again, a lot of people on social media have certain opinions. Feel free to drop down in the comment section with your particular opinion. And y'all know, even as a astrologer, a reader, and intuitive, I still give my opinion. I like to, I can be very upfront with my bias in the sense that from a legal standpoint, once again, that's a completely different conversation. And obviously they've been cleared legally. Morally, I don't feel bad at all. I, side with the people who feel like this man got what he deserved. He got what he was asking for. You can't tell people how to respond to what you do to them. Point blank, period. Okay, so no tears. I don't really like to celebrate people's demise, but no tears this way. Because I know I would have done the same, Somebody touch Miss Myrna, baby. It's going to be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing. So anyhow, we've gathered here today to do a natal chart reading for Mr. Jeremy Brown. That is the, quote unquote, victim in question, even though he's not really the victim, but you get what I'm saying? Because, I had to do my just do. I'm nosy. I had to go on Facebook and I saw a lot of his family speaking out. Somebody tagged him. So I was like, oh, he has a Facebook page. Usually Facebook shows a person's birthday. It depends. But in this case, it did for him, which gave me all the ammunition I needed. We finna roast this jive turkey. Okay? So y'all ready? Needless to say, the scope of this natal chart reading is to take a look at Jeremy Brown's natal chart and to correlate that with the situation he found himself in. Because a lot of times, most times, our natal charts are going to be the blueprint for a lot of the even external as well as internal events, patterns, behaviors that take place in our lives and could absolutely, have some impact over what transpires. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So Mr. Jeremy Brown was born on July 17th, 1990 in Chicago, Illinois. And there are a multitude of things to really dissect, right? In terms of like aspects and placements. So one of the first being that he is very much a Cancer. He's a Cancer sun with his sun sitting at the 24th degree, forming a conjunction to both Jupiter and Chiron. If you ask me, it definitely spells out like it's one of the smoking guns in this situation. Because if we break down Sun Jupiter conjunctions in Cancer, Sun conjoined to Jupiter in general can produce a person who is very over the top. And the thing about Jupiter is, as a planet, traditionally, from an astrological standpoint, it is associated with luck. It's associated with abundance and blessings and all these wonderful, beautiful things. And I'm not saying that's not true. But the nature of a conjunction could be expressed positively, but also negatively. And specifically in this case, having the Sun in Cancer conjoined to Jupiter in Cancer oftentimes can breed the lower polarity of this planet, which I feel like is not as discussed. And, my mentor talks about this a lot. Shout out to Rabina, Rastafari, the realist astrologer. She talks about how Jupiter can gas us up, right? Jupiter deals with things that are up high. But like all things that are high or, placed up high, the chances of, you falling or coming down, being let down, the letdown could be really, really hard. You know what I'm saying? There's a saying that's like, when it comes to giants, like the bigger they are, the harder they fall kind of thing. So, even you can look at it from the standpoint of Sun conjoined to Jupiter as resulting in a person who oftentimes can feel larger than life. It could point to a sense of like overconfidence, I guess is what I'm trying to say. A person being overly confident in something. And this is also going to be supported with him being a Leo South Node, okay? He has his South Node in Leo. Now, the sign Leo is ruled by the Sun, so it's going to make this Sun-Jupiter conjunction way more pronounced. And it's going to have a lot more impact in regards to like how it plays out. Like it could be a very karmic thing. So maybe he was a person in a past life who overly relied on whether it be like his confidence, his image. I mean, Leo in its lowest polarity could also deal with violence. I know a lot of Leo South Nodes who could be very violent, or even, have this thing about like intimidation, right? These are people who could like to like intimidate other people. He also has his Mercury at the 10th degree, which the number 10 reduces to 1, and the number 1 is also ruled by Leo. He has his Mercury conjoined to that South Node. Now, you could look at Mercury conjoined to the South Node in Leo as being indicative of someone who, a lot of times these are people who may need a peanut gallery. They can be very close-minded, and, very argumentative, and it kind of reinforces that theme of like being obnoxious when we talk about the lower polarity of Mercury in Leo, which, I mean, based on the situation, it's kind of safe to say that he did exude a lot of these lower polarities of these placements, right? Because you could even look at this as like him being in his like local neighborhood, right? And arguing with people. And I would assume a lot of that and how over the top, right? Think about how just almost even dramatic when you go back and look at the video. He was doing the most. Say another word, lady. Get your food, lady. Like it was almost like he was like being performative, right? And that's very Leo, like very Mercury conjoined to Leo on the South Node. And even, another manifestation of his Cancer Sun conjoined to Jupiter. Because a lot of times this over the topness, this overzealousness can be activated whenever he's in his feelings, whenever he's feeling triggered. You know what I mean? These are people who can have knee-jerk, when we talk about that Sun-Jupiter conjunction, taking it back to that, a blind spot that these people tend to have is like knee-jerk emotional responses. And once again, because Jupiter can have a tendency to like set a person up, gas a person up, these are people who can kind of get carried away. And unfortunately, you know what I'm saying, in this case, it led to his demise, quite literally. Leo is also associated with pride, archetypically speaking. And I know y'all heard of the saying that pride comes before the fall. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that he does have his nose at the 7th degree, the number 7 can deal with loss, sacrifice. It could deal with like where you shoot yourself in the foot, where it deals with your own undoing. So you could look at his Leo South Node is like his pride, his inability to let things go, is ultimately what did him in. This is also supported with his Mercury, that Mercury, which is conjoined to his South Node. Now, Mercury conjoined to the South Node in Leo could also produce a very argumentative person, once again, or somebody who, as I mentioned before, is just closed-minded. And there could even be the need to flex or stunt on people who you feel better than with this placement or aspect, if we're talking about Mercury conjoined to the Leo South Node in question. And this is going to be bolstered in this karmic tendency to kind of want to hype oneself up, or a person can be just so consumed with self, or a person can even be like narcissistic or have a lot of narcissistic traits. And once again, it doesn't help that he has that Sun-Jupiter conjunction, because it could oftentimes, once again, produce this like godlike complex, or this feeling of a person just kind of, I'm up here and y'all are down here. And it's worth mentioning, with this conjunction occurring in Cancer, a lot of this energy is absolutely going to be directed towards women, which brings me to my next point. He has Chiron conjoined to his Cancer Sun and Jupiter, which is going to be really catastrophic in regards to creating a individual who, I mean, let's just keep it real. Chiron, personal planet, like contacts don't really create for like well-balanced people. A lot of people with Chiron aspecting personal planets have a difficult time being adjusted. Like, these are not well-rounded people. There could be something off about these people. You could even look at that Sun Chiron conjunction in Cancer as him being a degenerate. Okay. Chiron could deal with where a person feels like they are entitled to certain things. Maybe they feel like they are the exception of, a certain thing or whatever the case may be. So with his sun conjoined to Chiron and Cancer, maybe he was someone who always just felt like he was entitled to women to do what he wanted. The sun deals with a person's willpower, as does that Leo South Node. So a person who could even just be very willful in the sense like, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do what I want, and you're not going to do anything about it. That's the kind of energy signature that it strikes up, even intuitively. And where, because Chiron can even deal with how we hurt people and with how we've been hurt as well. It goes without saying that, clearly he had mommy issues. He had problems, deeply rooted issues with women, and, has a hard time regulating his emotions. And as a result of that, could, inflict a lot of harm onto the women around him in order to help himself regulate. That's just what it is. Even with Chiron conjoined to his Jupiter like that too, where a person could just even feel like they are entitled to like express themselves, right? That Chiron, Jupiter, and Sun, that three-way conjunction in Cancer could produce a person who feels like they're entitled to express their feelings the way that they want without repercussion. Like they're entitled to kind of, I can act how I want. I could do what I want as long as, it's something that I feel very strongly about. You could also even look at Jupiter as like a justification. Jupiter deals with excuses. So I would even look at this three-way conjunction as a lot of the people in his family, because Cancer deals with family, like they're like him being coddled in a way that's very like dysfunctional, like people making excuses for him, which we saw on the internet. I saw a post where somebody was like, right or wrong, he was a I'm like, right or wrong, bitch. But he's wrong. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean right or wrong? If your family member is wrong, I understand you being impacted by the fact he's no longer here, but read the room, baby. Take the L in silence. Okay? What do you mean right or wrong? You gonna defend him. But that same type of energy, you know what I'm saying? Your boy would be alive right now if y'all ain't gas his ass up. You know what I'm saying? And once again, Jupiter gasses people up. Jupiter and Cancer being gassed up by family, being gassed up by the women in your life, setting you up to take the biggest L you've ever taken. And in the video in question, his girlfriend was on the scene, right? And you could hear her in the background as he was striking this lady. She was like, he told you. Like we could already tell that he probably done mink her ass a couple of times, but she probably honestly was just glad that he was beating on somebody else that wasn't her at the moment. It was giving Stockholm vibes. But I said that to say, this is the energy signature of the way that this 3-planet conjunction could play out between Sun, Jupiter, and Chiron and Cancer. The women around a man specifically kind of like gassing him up, or, there being this kind of dysfunctional, it's a really dysfunctional energy that once again played out even after his passing. So that's another way to look at that, and why he kind of felt so emboldened in just him blowing things out of proportion, right? As a Leo South Node, like I said, these are people who can be very performative, very dramatic, put in 30 on 10, and also reinforced with that Sun Jupiter conjunction. And with Sun conjoined to Chiron and him being a Leo South Node, I could see him being someone who has a hard time adjusting or fitting in when it comes to just society. Somebody who has a hard time, they don't like to be told what to do. I wouldn't be surprised if he couldn't keep a job with this hookup or something like that, or a person who always has to show like their authority. They got to flex their authority. Once again, a lot of this could be rooted in pride, ego, just sheer willfulness. As an Aquarius North Node in this lifetime, he was supposed to be a lot more tolerable, or learning how to be more tolerant of other people. But then he also has Pluto squaring his nodes. That could be like a deadly indicator, not for all, but especially for him, where with Pluto squaring that South Node, that's what got him. You know what I'm saying? That ultimately led to his demise. Pluto squaring the South Node in some cases can create an untimely demise. Also, to double back to the Sun Chiron conjunction, it's important to understand, and I have to just specify this caveat, that because conjunctions could play out positively or negatively, and it also depends on other factors in the chart, right? But of course, you do have this expression of Chiron if it's conjoined or positively aspecting a certain planet where it's like, oh, the healing, right? The wounded healer. And that's another very popular interpretation of like Chiron that I see a lot when it comes to like different astrologers. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but what I am saying is that just knowing people and just how shit plays out and how strong and powerful Chiron can be, if it's conjoined or negatively aspecting a person or planet, it's going to be very hard, very difficult for a person to like overcome the look. Like basically, even if you are somebody who's very self-aware, your Chiron placement, depending on what it's touching, but especially if it's touching a personal planet, you're going to be battling this your whole life. And, you know, of course, self-awareness helps. And, you know, you can create like all of this healing and all this other stuff. But let's be real. Look at the footage. Look at the material. Okay, look at the background of this man. Do you think that's what he was? Was he really on that type of time? Was he on that type of timing? Really? Do you think so? You think he was enlightened in overcoming this Chiron conjunction? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say hell no. That's what I'm going to say. This Chiron placement was beating his ass. You know what I'm saying? The same way he was trying to beat that lady's ass. So, you know, and unfortunately, it took him up out of here. Another way to look at Chiron conjoined to the sun in Cancer is like him being somebody who is just unpredictable. Period. Especially once again when emotions are involved, especially again when it comes to women. I would say even children, because something else I thought was really interesting as a Leo South Node. Leo deals with children. A lot of Leo South Nodes can have so much like past life karma and baggage involving children that in this lifetime, I mean, it really could it could play out in a magnitude of different ways, you know, whether it be having a difficult relationship, a strained relationship with your children, or having children with health issues, or, I mean, it depends. It's a bunch of different ways it could play out, but it's a lot of karmic debt that these people have to like experience when it comes to kids. And the sun also deals with children. So with sun conjoined to Chiron and Jupiter, he may not even have been that great of a dad. Let's keep it real. And that was something else that I saw on social media where people like his family and people who knew him were trying to appeal to the fact that like, oh, well, you know, he was a father. And because apparently he had, I think, twins or like 2 daughters. And there's a picture of him floating around with the girls. And, you know, it was on his social media. And everybody was like, you know, oh, my God, the girls, you know, they lost their father. Based on his chart, I think they're better off without him. Not popular to say, you know, and I know you know, people are like, everybody deserves a father. Everybody needs a dad. But let's be real. Having a dad present doesn't mean they're a good dad, you know? And if he was that great of a dad, he wouldn't have been in a situation like this. You know, people make mistakes, but this is pattern behavior that I think, you know, it was very obvious to see that he didn't learn, you know, he hadn't learned from his mistakes. And if we look at the fact that he has that Sun, Jupiter, Chiron conjunction, he could have been explosive or even potentially abusive to them kids as well. I'm not even going to hold you. Even reinforced with Pluto squaring that Leo South Node. He also has his Sun forming an opposition to Saturn. That could even deal with him denying the kids. And I don't, you know, if somebody is his family member and you just so happen to watch this video, I mean, you can feel free to confirm. I mean, let's be real. You probably ain't gonna like what I have to say, but feel free to confirm because we have no way of really knowing this unless we, you know somebody close to him, right? He's not a celebrity or anything, but I said all this to say with his Sun in opposition to Saturn, that could deal with him like maybe denying the kids or like, you know, maybe at some point in life, he not even be cool with his own kids, bro. Like he, where he could just be like mean or closed off to his own children or really harsh towards them or like reject them altogether. You know, even with Pluto squaring the South Node like that too. So I wouldn't be surprised if he demanded like a paternity test. And that's the kind of vibes he gives, that's his aesthetic. That's not my baby. That's not my baby. Taking the baby mama up and through there. You know what I'm saying? So, if you ask me, them girls are better off without him. But some other key points that I want to make before we go ahead and wrap this reading up. Because, hook, line, sinker, he has his Mars at the 3rd degree of Taurus. Now, honestly, the man might have been hungry during the incident. It's not funny, but that could have been a contributing factor. But you could also look at Mars and Taurus as like him being shot at a local eatery. You know what I'm saying? It is squaring his nose as well. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was definitely interesting. And it also does reaffirm him being like a creature of habit, or somebody who like, is like, very fixed in his own like views of things, and, where a lot of his bad habits and negative traits, he may not have been super motivated to change them, especially if it's been working for him all this time. He has a semi-square between his Venus and that Mercury conjoined to his South Node in Leo. That also reinforces him being just very disagreeable, argumentative, where maybe he always got to get the last word in, him arguing with women. But also you could look at that as being a manifestation of him arguing with that lady in the shop at the place in question. Cancer also does deal with restaurants too. So I thought all of this was interesting, with that 3-way conjunction between Sun, Jupiter, and Chiron in terms of like him getting into this major fallout at a restaurant. That was very interesting. Anything else worth mentioning? I think I pretty much covered everything that stood out to me. He does have Icarus, which is an asteroid that could deal with where, once again, we could be overconfident in certain things to the point where it could be detrimental to us. And it's at the 23rd degree of Aries. Now, it is running parallel to Uranus, which is going to be like it's going to have a more favorable outcome in terms of like, maybe he's somebody who, because, of his violent behavior or aggressive behavior, like he's been able to get away with certain things, or he feels entitled to certain things, or it's kind of worked out for him. You know what I mean? But once again, pride comes before the fall. It's only so many times you can get away with acting a certain way or doing certain things, before it comes back and it bites you in the ass. Point blank, period. And with Pluto squaring his nodes, it was only a matter of time. He was playing a dangerous game. Not to mention, Leo does deal with like chances, playing a game of chance, and with Pluto squaring that South Node, it's deadly. Almost like playing Russian roulette with your life. Another manifestation of Leo on the South Node, especially with Mercury conjoined to the South Node, is not wanting to be outdone. Once again, especially if there is an audience, because of that performative factor. So I don't know what the lady said to him, but in his mind, he thought he was doing his big one. He thought he was doing his biggest one, right? And with that Pluto squaring his Mercury and even that South Node, that could be him threatening her, or once again, just taking physical force, like being abusive towards people in an attempt to kind of like outdo them. And that ties back into like that hyper competitive nature of Leo. And once again, very congruent with just being just very egocentric and very prideful and also childish. Leo, in the same realm of dealing with children, can make a person very childish. So having your Mercury conjoined to Leo on the South Node could produce a person who is very like tit for tat. Once again, that theme of like being argumentative, going back and forth, and just being really childish, and even like throwing a temper tantrum when you can't get your way. Once again, if you look at the video, it was giving all of that. It was giving performative. It was giving childish. It was giving like he was acting like a big baby, which is also another manifestation of Sun conjoined to Jupiter in Cancer as well. Throwing that Chiron in there for good measure. where, because maybe he was coddled or babied by other people, when he feels like he doesn't have to, or he doesn't want to do something, or, when he feels like it's justified, he can just kind of, like a person who literally acts like a big child, how he was acting, it was like an impetulant child. And being a grown man, that could be very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Men who can't control their emotions, men who are very childish like that, who want to throw temper tantrums and who can't control themselves. And because of that Sun Chiron conjunction, like I said, making him very much a deviant in certain ways, or just a person who it's like they can't help themselves. They're wild. That Sun Chiron conjunction could make him feral, wild. And once again, he's activated in emotional situations or situations involving women. What more can I say, y'all? What more can I say? I'm going to go ahead and end this video on his Mars, taking it back to this Mars and Taurus squaring his nodes. Mars and Taurus specifically squaring his south node, y'all. That south node in Leo could also result in him being shot in the back. I thought that was kind of interesting as well. But yeah, nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here because I don't want the video to be too long. But y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about his chart. Like, are any of these placements familiar? Do you have them? What about any of these aspects? Feel free to sound off with your personal experiences. Once again, if you or somebody like you has these aspects and you can't resonate with them, you still have to take your entire natal chart into consideration. So do not get in my comment section telling me I got Sun conjoined to Chiron. I don't act like that. I don't give a fuck. Okay, we ain't talking about you. Take it if it applies. If it don't, just let it go. We talking about this Negroid, okay? So, yeah, that concludes my video. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye.